Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever stood at the crossroads of decision where your mind is pulling you one way, but your heart is screaming another? Have you ever wrestled in the midnight hour, debating between wisdom and emotion, between what's logical and what's passionate, between what makes sense and what makes you feel alive? That's the battle between the head and the heart. And it's a battle that every single one of us will face at some point in our life. Your head is where reason lives. It's where you calculate, analyze, strategize. Your head will tell you, be careful, think this through, don't rush. Your heart is where passion resides. It's where dreams are born, where courage rises, where love speaks. Your heart will say, go for it, take the leap, follow what you feel. And here's the truth, God gave you both for a reason. You were never meant to live by just one. You were meant to be guided by wisdom and passion, logic and love, intellect and intuition. But hear me, there will be times when the head is afraid because the heart is too bold. There will be moments when the heart is reckless because the head is too cautious. And the key to success, the key to victory, the key to destiny is learning when to listen to which. When it comes to relationships, the heart will say, I love them, but the head will ask, are they right for me? When it comes to opportunities, the head will say, is it safe? But the heart will say, is it worth it? When it comes to forgiveness, the head will say, they hurt me, but the heart will say, let it go. So what do you do when your head and your heart are in conflict? You pray. You seek wisdom. You surround yourself with wise counsel. You search the truth, and you make decisions not just based on what feels good, but on what is right. Because a life led by emotion alone will make you reckless. A life led by logic alone will make you lifeless. But a life led by wisdom and passion together will make you unstoppable. So today I challenge you. Don't just listen to your head. Don't just follow your heart. Learn to discern when to use which, and watch how your life transforms. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, let me ask you a question today. Have you ever stood at a crossroads feeling like you're being pulled in two directions? Have you ever been torn between what makes sense in your mind and what sets your soul on fire? Have you ever wrestled with a decision so heavy that your heart is screaming one thing, but your head is cautioning another? That, my friends, is the great battle of life, the battle between the head and the heart. It is a struggle we all face, a tension we all experience, a conflict that can shape the very course of our destiny. It is the war between logic and passion, between wisdom and desire, between intellect and intuition. And let me tell you this battle is universal. It does not discriminate. It is not bound by age, gender, background, or experience. It is the same for the young dreamer as it is for the seasoned professional. It is the same for the man standing at the altar as it is for the woman sitting in the boardroom. It is the same for the student choosing a career path as it is for the leader making life-changing decisions. No one is exempt from the battle between head and heart. You see, your head is where logic lives. It is where reasoning, calculation, and caution reside. It is the voice that tells you to weigh the risks, to analyze the pros and cons, to think things through. The head is responsible for planning, strategizing, and ensuring that your decisions align with facts and reality. The head will say, slow down, think before you act, be wise. But then there's your heart, the seat of your passion, your dreams, your emotions. The heart is bold, fearless, and full of fire. It doesn't ask, is it safe? It asks, is it worth it? The heart is the voice that pushes you beyond limits, that makes you chase after love, that makes you take risks, that makes you feel alive. The heart will say, go for it. Take the leap. Follow what you feel. And herein lies the struggle, because there will be times when your heart is so full of desire that it wants to leap into the unknown, but your head is full of doubt, screaming, what if it doesn't work? And there will be times when your head is holding you back with fear, but your heart is yearning to break free and take a chance. So which one do you listen to? Which one do you trust? How do you know when to follow logic and when to follow passion? Now, let me be real with you. A life led by emotion alone is a dangerous life. When you let your heart rule without the guidance of wisdom, you can become reckless. You can make decisions that feel good in the moment but cause long-term damage. Your heart might say, I love them, but your head must ask, are they good for me? Your heart might say, I want it now, but your head must ask, is this the right time? Your heart might say, take the leap, but your head must ask, do I have a parachute? How many people have made emotional decisions that cost them years of regret? How many have rushed into relationships, investments, or life choices based purely on what they felt in the moment, only to realize later that they ignored the warning signs? Passion without wisdom is like a car without brakes. It might move fast, but it will eventually crash. But let me tell you something else. A life led by logic alone is an empty life. If you only listen to your head, you might play it safe, but you might also miss out on the greatest experiences of your life. Your head might say, stay where it's comfortable, but your heart must ask, what if I was made for more? Your head might say, don't take the risk, but your heart must ask, what if this is my moment? Your head might say, wait until it makes perfect sense, but your heart must ask, what if the timing will never be perfect? How many people have missed out on love, opportunities, and purpose because they overthought everything? How many have let fear keep them from stepping out in faith, from chasing their dreams, from doing something bold? Caution without courage is like a boat tied to the dock. It's safe, but it will never sail. So the real question is, how do you find the balance? How do you know when to listen to your head and when to trust your heart? Wisdom is not choosing one over the other. It is learning when to listen to which. It is understanding that there are moments when your heart needs to take the lead and there are moments when your head needs to take control. Wisdom is knowing that in love, passion must be balanced with discernment. Wisdom is knowing that in opportunities, courage must be balanced with strategy. Wisdom is knowing that in forgiveness, grace must be balanced with boundaries. Let me tell you something. You were not meant to figure this out on your own. When the battle between head and heart is raging inside of you, when you are torn between logic and passion, seek divine guidance. Pray for clarity. Surround yourself with wise counsel. Look beyond your own understanding, because some decisions are too big to be made on feeling alone. And some are too important to be made on facts alone. The Bible says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Proverbs 3:05. That means you don't have to be afraid to listen to your heart, but you don't have to ignore your head either. You can trust that when your heart and head align with wisdom, you are on the right path. Don't live a reckless life, but don't live a fearful one either. Don't silence your passion, but don't ignore your wisdom. Don't just follow your emotions, but don't just stick to what's safe. Because when you learn to use both your head and your heart together, you become unstoppable. You become wise, fearless, and full of purpose. You walk into rooms with confidence. You make decisions with clarity. You live a life that is both meaningful and strong. So when you stand at the crossroads and the battle between head and heart rages inside of you, take a moment, seek wisdom, seek truth, seek guidance. And when you move, move with power, move with purpose. Move with both your head and your heart leading you toward destiny. At every turn, we are faced with choices that shape our future, define our relationships, and carve out the path we walk. In these moments, there are two voices speaking inside of us: the voice of the head and the voice of the heart. The head represents logic, wisdom, and strategy. It is the center of rational thought, the guardian of caution, and the architect of our plans. It is where knowledge is processed, where decisions are weighed, and where outcomes are analyzed. Without the guidance of the head, life becomes reckless, filled with impulsive choices and avoidable mistakes. The head is not cold, but it is calculated. It does not rush, but it ensures that every step is taken with purpose. But what does it truly mean for the head to represent logic, wisdom, and strategy? Let us take a deeper dive into each of these aspects and explore how they shape our lives. Logic is the foundation of clear thinking. It is the ability to analyze situations, weigh options, and make decisions based on reason rather than emotion. Logic prevents us from being easily deceived, from falling into traps, and from making choices that are driven purely by feelings rather than facts. Imagine standing at a crossroads in life. One path is wide, beautiful, and inviting, but you have no idea where it leads. The other path is narrower, more challenging, but it has clear signposts guiding you forward. The heart might be drawn to the first path simply because it looks more appealing, but the head asks, where does it lead? What are the risks? What are the consequences? Logic allows us to separate what feels right from what is right. It stops us from making emotional decisions that could lead to regret. It challenges us to pause, reflect, and seek truth before taking action. Consider financial decisions. The heart might say, I want this now, I deserve it. But logic says, can you afford it? Have you budgeted for it? Is it worth the sacrifice? Many people have fallen into debt because they ignored logic and followed their desires. But those who apply logic to their financial choices build stability, security, and long-term success. Logic also plays a crucial role in relationships. When emotions run high, logic is the steady force that ensures we don't act irrationally. It tells us to communicate instead of assuming, to step back instead of overreacting, and to think before we speak. A person led purely by emotions in relationships will be easily angered, easily swayed, and easily broken. But a person who allows logic to balance their emotions will build strong, lasting, and healthy connections. Wisdom is different from intelligence. Intelligence is knowledge, but wisdom is knowing how to apply that knowledge correctly. A person can be highly educated and still make foolish decisions. A person can have all the information in the world and still lack discernment. Wisdom is what takes knowledge and turns it into something useful. Wisdom comes with experience. It is shaped by the lessons we learn, the mistakes we've made, and the mentors who have guided us. Wisdom looks beyond the present moment and considers the bigger picture. It asks, what will this decision mean 5 years from now? How will this choice affect my future? A wise person does not rush into opportunities without understanding the risks. They do not speak without thinking. They do not act without considering the consequences. They understand that not every opportunity is a blessing and not every open door is meant to be walked through. Think about the decisions you have made in your life, the ones that led to trouble. Were they made with impulse? The times you suffered the most, were they because you ignored wise counsel or because you sought wisdom and acted with patience? Wisdom teaches us that sometimes waiting is better than rushing, that sometimes saying no is more powerful than saying yes, that sometimes silence speaks louder than words. A wise person knows when to walk away. They know when to stay still. They know that wisdom is not just about knowing right from wrong. It is about knowing the right thing at the right time. If wisdom is knowing what to do, strategy is knowing how to do it. Strategy is the ability to plan, to think ahead, and to position yourself for success. Without strategy, even the best intentions can lead to failure. Without strategy, dreams remain dreams, and goals remain unachieved. A strategist does not move randomly. They do not act on impulse. They do not waste time on things that do not align with their vision. They think 10 steps ahead. They anticipate challenges before they arise. They prepare for difficulties before they happen. Think of a game of chess. The best players are not those who simply react to their opponent's moves. The best players think ahead. They plan their moves in advance. They set up their victories long before they happen. The same is true in life. The person who wins is not always the strongest, the fastest, or the most talented. The person who wins is often the one who planned the best, the one who knew when to act and when to wait, the one who saw the future before others could see it. Strategy is what turns a dream into reality. Anyone can have a vision, but not everyone has a plan. Anyone can say they want success, but not everyone knows how to achieve it. Strategy is what takes you from where you are to where you want to be. A strategic person does not let emotions control their actions. They do not make choices based on temporary feelings. They understand that success is not about speed, it is about direction. They know that a slow and steady climb is better than a fast and reckless fall. Now, I am not saying that the heart is unimportant. The heart gives us passion. The heart gives us courage. The heart gives us the drive to pursue our dreams. But without the guidance of logic, wisdom, and strategy, passion can lead to destruction. A life without logic is reckless. A life without wisdom is foolish. A life without strategy is directionless. When the head leads, we make decisions that are not just good for today, but good for tomorrow. When the head leads, we are not easily shaken, easily misled, or easily deceived. Do not rush into things without thought. Do not act on impulse without understanding. Do not let your emotions lead you away from what is right, because a person who follows their heart but ignores their head will live a life full of regrets. But a person who allows their head to guide their heart will live a life full of purpose. Think wisely, move strategically, live intentionally, and watch how your life transforms. The heart represents passion, courage, and emotion expended, and make it lengthy without doubt. Life is a journey of choices, risks, and experiences, and at the center of it all is the heart. The heart is not just an organ that beats within our chest. It is the place where passion is ignited, where courage is born, and where deep emotions take root. The heart is the driving force behind dreams, the voice that calls us to take leaps of faith, and the source of the love and compassion that shape our relationships. The heart is powerful. It can inspire greatness, push past fear, and lead us to moments of unspeakable joy. But it can also be reckless, impulsive, and vulnerable to pain. To understand the heart is to understand one of the most important aspects of being human. For without passion, we are lifeless. Without courage, we are bound by fear. Without emotion, we are disconnected from the world around us. So what does it truly mean for the heart to represent passion, courage, and emotion? Let's dive deep into each of these and explore the undeniable role they play in our lives. Passion is the fire that burns within us. It is the force that wakes us up in the morning with purpose. The energy that drives us toward our dream, and the intensity that fuels our deepest desires. Passion is what makes people pursue greatness despite obstacles. It is what makes artists create, entrepreneurs take risks, and visionaries refuse to settle for mediocrity. A life without passion is a dull, empty existence. It is simply going through the motions without feeling alive. Passion gives meaning to what we do. It infuses our work, our relationships, and our dreams with excitement and purpose. Think of the most successful people in history. Whether it's an athlete, a scientist, a musician, or an activist, what do they all have in common? Passion. They did not achieve greatness by accident. They were consumed by a fire inside them, a desire so strong that they refused to give up. But passion isn't just about achieving big things. It's about the way we live our lives. A passionate person doesn't just exist, they thrive. They wake up each day with purpose. They pour their hearts into what they do. Whether it's a teacher inspiring students, a chef creating a masterpiece dish, or a parent nurturing a child, passion transforms the ordinary. Yet passion alone is not enough. Passion without direction can become chaos. Passion without discipline can lead to burnout. That's why passion must be guided by wisdom, but make no mistake, without passion, life becomes routine, predictable, and uninspired. If you ever feel like life has lost its spark, ask yourself, what sets my heart on fire? What excites me? What do I love so deeply that I would do it even if no one paid me? Because that is where passion lives. And when you find it, you must protect it, nurture it, and let it guide you toward your purpose. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward despite fear. Courage is what allows people to take risks, to step into the unknown, and to fight for what they believe in. And make no mistake, courage comes from the heart. Think about the moments in life when you were most afraid. Maybe it was standing up for yourself when it was easier to stay silent. Maybe it was chasing a dream when others told you it was impossible. Maybe it was loving again after experiencing heartbreak. In all of these moments, courage was required. Fear is loud. Fear will tell you, stay where it's safe. Don't take the risk. Don't put yourself in a vulnerable position. But the heart, the courageous heart, will respond. This is worth fighting for. This is worth the risk. I will not let fear control me. Courage is what separates those who talk about their dreams from those who chase them. It is what makes people step onto stages, start businesses, speak truth, and take chances. Courage is also required in love. To love is to risk being hurt. To open your heart to someone is to make yourself vulnerable. But the alternative, living without love, is not living at all. The heart pushes us to love fiercely, to give freely, and to forgive even when it's hard. But courage isn't just about the big moments. Sometimes courage is waking up and facing another day when life has been hard. Sometimes courage is choosing to hope when everything looks hopeless. Sometimes courage is simply believing in yourself when no one else does. If you ever find yourself at a crossroads, paralyzed by fear, ask yourself, if I wasn't afraid, what would I do? Because that is what your heart is calling you toward. That is where courage is waiting for you to take the leap. Emotions are what make us human. They are what allow us to feel deeply, to connect with others, and to experience life in its fullness. The heart is the center of our emotions. It is where we experience joy, love, sadness, anger, and hope. Without emotions, life would be robotic. Imagine a world without love, without laughter, without tears of joy. Emotions are what make life rich, beautiful, and meaningful. Love is the greatest of all emotions. Love drives us to care for others, to form deep connections, and to put others before ourselves. Love is what makes parents sacrifice for their children, what makes friends stand by each other through hardships, what makes people give without expecting anything in return. But emotions are not always easy to manage. The same heart that fills with joy can also break with sorrow. The same heart that loves deeply can also feel intense pain. And this is why emotions must be understood, not suppressed, not ignored, but understood. Many people are afraid of their emotions. They push them down, pretending they don't exist. But suppressing emotions is like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. It will always rise back up. The healthiest people are not those who avoid emotions, but those who learn to process them, to embrace them, and to channel them in healthy ways. Sadness reminds us of what we value. Anger reveals our passion for justice. Fear teaches us caution. Every emotion serves a purpose. It's what we do with them that matters. If you ever feel overwhelmed by emotion, ask yourself, what is my heart trying to tell me? What is this feeling revealing about what I need, what I love, or what I fear? Because emotions are messengers. They tell us what matters most. The heart is powerful. It fuels us with passion. It emboldens us with courage, and it connects us to the depth of human emotion. But the heart must be guided. Passion without direction can be destructive. Courage without wisdom can be reckless. Emotion without understanding can be overwhelming. That is why the heart and the mind must work together. A life led by passion, courage, and emotion alone can lead to mistakes. But a life without them is empty, lifeless, and unfulfilled. The key is to embrace the power of the heart while balancing it with wisdom and discernment. So, my challenge to you is this: listen to your heart. Let it lead you toward what excites you. Let it push you beyond fear. Let it allow you to feel deeply, but do so with wisdom. Do so with awareness. Do so knowing that the heart is a gift, not something to be feared, but something to be understood. Because when your heart and your mind work together, you will live a life that is not only bold, but also beautiful. The head represents logic, wisdom, and strategy. It is the voice of reason, caution, and calculation. It looks ahead, analyzes risk, and ensures that every decision is well thought out. The heart, on the other hand, represents passion, courage, and emotion. It is the source of dreams, the fuel behind our desires, and the place where love, joy, and empathy reside. For centuries, people have debated whether it is better to follow the head or the heart. Some argue that logic should always take precedence, that emotions cloud judgment and lead to reckless choices. Others insist that the heart knows what it wants, that passion and intuition should guide us, even when logic suggests otherwise. But the truth is, both are necessary. Neither should be ignored. To live a meaningful, fulfilling, and successful life, the head and the heart must work together in harmony. One without the other leads to imbalance, and imbalance leads to struggle. Imagine a life where every decision is based purely on emotion, without any logical consideration. It might seem exciting at first, chasing every passion, following every impulse, and letting feelings dictate every action. But what happens when those emotions shift? What happens when passion leads to destruction instead of success? Without logic, passion can become reckless. A person who acts purely on emotion may spend money they don't have, invest in relationships that are unhealthy, or chase dreams without a plan. While the heart may be full of desire, it does not always see the consequences. It does not always anticipate the obstacles. Consider a person who falls in love and immediately rushes into marriage without considering compatibility, values, or long-term goals. The heart may say, "This feels right, let's do it now." But the head, if listened to, might ask, "Are we truly ready? Do we have the same vision for the future?" Have we built a foundation strong enough to last? Or think about someone who quits their job on a whim to pursue a dream without any financial plan or preparation. The heart may say, I hate this job, I want to be free, but the head would remind them, how will you support yourself? Have you saved enough? Do you have a strategy to make this work? Ignoring the head leads to impulsive decisions that can result in regret. It may feel good in the moment, but without strategy, planning, and wisdom, those decisions can lead to unnecessary hardship. On the other hand, imagine a life where every decision is based only on logic, with no room for emotion or passion. A life where every move is calculated, every step planned, and every risk avoided because it doesn't fit into a rational equation. While this may seem like the safest way to live, it is also a life without excitement, without joy, and without true fulfillment. Ignoring the heart leads to a life that is practical but empty. It leads to staying in a job that pays well but brings no happiness. It leads to choosing relationships based on convenience rather than love. It leads to playing life so safely that opportunities for growth, adventure, and meaning are missed. Think about the person who refuses to take risks because they fear failure. Their head tells them, stay where it's safe. Don't try anything new. Don't chase your dreams because you might fail. But the heart is screaming, this is what I love. This is what I was born to do. Or consider the person who never allows themselves to feel deeply because they fear getting hurt. They avoid love, vulnerability, and deep connections, choosing instead to remain detached and guarded. Their head tells them, protect yourself, don't let anyone get too close, but their heart is longing for intimacy, for connection, for the depth of human experience. A life without the heart may be stable, but it lacks passion. It may be logical, but it lacks true joy. It may be practical, but it lacks the richness that comes from following dreams, taking risks, and opening up to love. So what is the solution? The answer is not to choose one over the other, but to bring them into alignment. The head and the heart must work together. One must inform the other, guiding us toward a life that is both fulfilling and wise, passionate and strategic, courageous and calculated. Consider the most successful people in any field. They did not get there by relying solely on logic or only on emotion. They found a way to balance both. The greatest entrepreneurs are both passionate and strategic. The most inspiring leaders have both courage and wisdom. The happiest people follow their hearts, but listen to their minds. Think about relationships. A strong, lasting relationship is not built on passion alone. It requires communication, trust, and understanding, all things that require wisdom and logic. But at the same time, a relationship without love, excitement, and deep emotion will never thrive. Both are needed. Think about career decisions. A fulfilling career is not just about financial stability. It must also align with purpose and passion. But passion alone is not enough. It must be supported by skill, planning, and hard work. Think about life choices. Every major decision we make, whether it's where to live, who to marry, or what dreams to pursue, should not be made by the heart alone or the head alone. The head asks, is this wise? While the heart asks, is this what I truly want? The best decisions are made when both answers align. Listen to both voices. When faced with a decision, pay attention to what both your heart and your mind are saying. Do not dismiss either one. Pause before acting. If emotions are high, take time to think before making a decision. If logic is holding you back from something you deeply desire, ask yourself if fear is the reason. Seek wisdom from others. Sometimes we need an outside perspective to help us find balance. Talk to trusted mentors, friends, or advisors who can offer insight from both a logical and emotional perspective. To find your values. Knowing what truly matters to you will help you make decisions that align with both your mind and your heart. When your values are clear, your choices become easier. Embrace risk with preparation. Taking risks is necessary for growth, but doing so recklessly can lead to failure. Combine the courage of the heart with the planning of the mind to take calculated risks that move you forward. Trust yourself. At the end of the day, only you can determine what is right for your life. Trust that when you take the time to listen to both logic and emotion, you will make the best decision. Life is not meant to be lived solely by logic or solely by passion. So both are necessary. Neither should be ignored. The head brings wisdom, stability, and planning. The heart brings passion, excitement, and purpose. When they work together, life becomes richer, more meaningful, and more fulfilling. So the next time you stand at a crossroads, unsure of which path to take, do not silence either voice. Instead, let them work together to guide you toward a future that is both wise and wonderful, strategic and exciting, secure and deeply fulfilling, that shape our future. Some choices are simple and require little thought, but others demand careful consideration, deep reflection, and sometimes a leap of faith. In these moments, we often find ourselves caught between two powerful forces, the head and the heart. The head is where logic, reason, and strategy reside. It is the part of us that calculates risks, considers consequences, and ensures that we make rational, well thought out decisions. It looks at facts, analyzes data, and seeks stability and security. The heart, on the other hand, is where passion, courage, and emotion live. It is the voice that urges us to follow our dreams, take risks, and embrace the beauty of love, adventure, and purpose. It is where we feel deeply, where we connect with others, and where we experience the raw essence of life. For many, the struggle between head and heart is a lifelong battle. Some people lean too heavily on logic, suppressing their emotions and playing life so cautiously that they miss out on its richness. Others are ruled entirely by emotion, making impulsive decisions that often lead to regret. But wisdom, true wisdom, is not about choosing one over the other. It is about knowing when to listen to which. It is about understanding that there are moments in life when logic must lead, and there are times when the heart must take control. Learning when to lean on each one is the key to living a balanced, fulfilling, and meaningful life. The mind is a powerful tool. It is responsible for problem solving, critical thinking, and long-term planning. It helps us navigate life in a structured and thoughtful way, ensuring that we don't make rash decisions based purely on temporary emotions. For example, consider financial decisions. If a person wants to buy a house, the heart might say, "This is my dream home. I love it. I want it now." But the head must step in and ask, "Can I afford it? Will this decision put me in debt? Does this align with my long-term financial goals?" Without logic, a person might purchase something they cannot afford, leading to stress and financial hardship. The same applies to career choices. Many people dream of leaving their jobs to pursue their passions, but without careful planning, this can be a disaster. The heart might say, "Follow your dreams no matter what," but the head reminds us, do you have savings? Have you built the necessary skills? What is your plan for making this work? Logic is also essential in conflict resolution. In heated arguments, emotions can take over, causing people to say things they don't mean or make decisions out of anger or hurt. Wisdom tells us that in these moments we must pause and let reason take control. Instead of reacting impulsively, we should step back, think through our words, and approach the situation with clarity and understanding. There are also times when emotions are misleading. misleading. Fear, for example, can trick us into thinking we are in danger when we are not. Anxiety can make us doubt ourselves even when we are fully capable. Jealousy, anger, and sadness can cloud our judgment and lead us to act in ways we later regret. In these situations, wisdom tells us to listen to the head, to step back, analyze the situation objectively, and make a decision based on truth, not temporary emotion. While logic is essential, life without emotion is empty. The heart is what gives life its depth, beauty, and meaning. It is where love, joy, passion, and purpose are born. It is the force that pushes us to take risks, chase our dreams, and experience life in its fullest form. Consider love and relationships. If people only relied on logic when choosing a partner, they might miss out on deep, meaningful connections. Love is not always logical. It is emotional. It is a feeling, a connection, a force that cannot always be explained. If a person allows their head to rule too much, they might overanalyze everything, waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect person, never allowing themselves to fully experience love. The same applies to dreams and passions. If people only followed logic, no one would take risks. No one would start businesses, write books, or create art. The head often says, be practical, stay safe, don't take risks. But the heart says, you have one life. Do what makes you come alive. Think of the great innovators, artists, and leaders throughout history. They didn't change the world by playing it safe. They followed their hearts, even when logic told them not to. They took risks, pursued their passions, and embraced the unknown. If Steve Jobs had listened only to logic, Apple would not exist. If Martin Luther King Jr. had listened only to reason, he would not have fought for justice with such passion and conviction. If musicians, painters, and poets relied only on logic, the world would be void of art and creativity. The heart also plays a crucial role in empathy and connection. It allows us to feel deeply, to understand others, and to show kindness and compassion. If we let logic rule in every situation, we may become cold, detached, and unfeeling. Wisdom tells us that in matters of the heart, such as relationships, forgiveness, and human connection, emotion must sometimes take precedence over logic. So how do we know when to listen to the head and when to follow the heart? The answer lies in discernment. If a choice will impact your future in a significant way, finances, career, major life changes, logic should lead. Take emotions into account, but do not let them control the decision. If a choice is about what brings you joy, fulfillment, or connection, let your heart have a voice. Logic can guide you, but emotion should play a major role. If you are feeling overwhelmed, angry, fearful, or upset, do not make rash decisions. Let logic bring clarity before acting. If your head is telling you not to take a risk simply because it's afraid of failure, let your heart remind you why you started in the first place. Relationships require both emotion and wisdom. Love with your whole heart, but use wisdom in communication, decision-making, and conflict resolution. The best decisions come when both logic and emotion align. If you can find a path where your head and heart agree, that is often the best choice. Wisdom is not about choosing between the head and the heart. It is about knowing when to listen to which. Both are necessary. Both have value. Both play an essential role in living a fulfilling, successful, and meaningful life. If we rely too much on the head, we risk living a life that is logical but empty. If we rely too much on the heart, we risk making impulsive decisions that lead to regret. But when we learn to balance both, when we allow wisdom to guide us, we create a life that is not only secure and stable, but also passionate and purposeful. So the next time you face a decision, pause. Listen to both voices. Ask yourself, is this a moment for logic or for passion. And when you find that balance, you will walk the path of true wisdom. They bring joy, love, companionship, and a deep sense of connection. They shape our experiences, influence our emotions, and have the potential to bring out both the best and the worst in us. At the heart of every relationship lies a delicate balance between passion and discernment. Two forces that must coexist for love to thrive. Passion is the fire, the excitement, the feeling of being deeply drawn to another person. It is what makes love feel exhilarating and irresistible. It is the spark that ignites romance, fuels desire, and keeps relationships from becoming dull or mechanical. Passion makes us feel alive. It gives relationships energy, intensity, and emotional depth. But passion alone is not enough. Without discernment, passion can lead to reckless decisions, heartbreak, and regret. Discernment is the ability to judge wisely, to see beyond emotions, and to make decisions that align with long-term happiness and well-being. It is what keeps passion from becoming destructive. It allows us to differentiate between fleeting attraction and genuine compatibility, between momentary excitement and lasting love. A healthy, fulfilling relationship requires both passion and discernment. Too much passion without discernment can lead to impulsive choices, toxic dynamics, and emotional chaos. Too much discernment without passion can result in relationships that feel logical but lifeless, stable but uninspiring. The key is balance, learning when to let passion lead and when to step back and evaluate with wisdom. Passion is the force that draws two people together. It is what makes romance exciting, what fuels intimacy, and what creates deep emotional bonds. In the early stages of a relationship, passion is often at its peak. Everything feels new, thrilling, and intense. This phase, often called the honeymoon phase, is filled with excitement, attraction, and deep emotional highs. Passion is what makes love feel magical. It is what drives people to go to great lengths for their partners, to express affection in grand ways, to prioritize time together, and to see the best in each other. Passion keeps relationships from becoming routine and mundane. It is what makes couples stay up late talking for hours, what leads to spontaneous adventures, and what keeps the connection strong even in difficult times. Beyond romance, passion also plays a role in emotional investment. It is what makes us care deeply about our partners, what makes us want to support them, and what makes us fight for the relationship when challenges arise. Without passion, relationships can feel transactional, two people coexisting rather than truly being connected. But passion, if left unchecked, can also be deceptive. It can blind us to red flags, cause us to ignore warning signs, and lead us to make decisions based purely on emotion rather than wisdom. Passion can make unhealthy relationships feel intoxicating, causing people to stay in situations that are not good for them simply because the emotions are intense. Discernment is what allows us to see clearly, to separate emotion from reality, to assess situations objectively, and to make choices that align with long-term happiness. It is what protects us from being controlled by fleeting emotions and helps us navigate relationships with wisdom and intentionality. In the early stages of a relationship, discernment is what helps us distinguish between infatuation and true compatibility. Just because two people have strong chemistry does not mean they are meant to be together. Passion might tell us, I feel something intense, so it must be love. But discernment asks, are we truly compatible? Do we share the same values? Is this person bringing out the best in me? Discernment is also essential in identifying red flags. When passion is high, people often ignore warning signs that indicate a relationship may not be healthy. A person may overlook disrespectful behavior, dismiss toxic patterns, or excuse emotional unavailability because the chemistry feels so strong. Discernment reminds us to pay attention, to look beyond emotions and evaluate whether the relationship is truly good for us. Beyond choosing the right partner, discernment is also necessary in managing conflict. Every relationship will face disagreements and challenges. Passion can make people react impulsively in the heat of the moment, saying things they don't mean or making decisions out of anger or hurt. Discernment helps people pause, step back, and respond with wisdom rather than emotion. Discernment is what helps people navigate difficult seasons in relationships, deciding when to fight for love and when to walk away. Passion may say, stay no matter what because I love them, but discernment asks, is this relationship healthy? Is it growing? Are we building something meaningful together? A healthy relationship is not about choosing between passion and discernment, but learning how to balance both. The best relationships are filled with passion, but they are also built on wisdom. They are exciting, but they are also stable. They have emotional depth, but they are also grounded in reality. Enjoy the excitement, the butterflies, and the deep emotions, but stay aware. Pay attention to how your partner treats you, how they respond to challenges, and whether they align with your values. Passion can make people want to rush into relationships, into moving in together, into marriage, but wisdom says to take time, to truly get to know each other, and to ensure that the foundation is strong before making life-altering decisions. Passion may make a relationship feel perfect in the moment, but discernment asks, are our life goals aligned? Do we communicate well? Do we bring out the best in each other? Passion can fade if it is not nurtured, and relationships require effort to keep the fire alive. But discernment helps us see that love is not just about feeling passionate, it is about commitment, effort, and choosing to love even when emotions fluctuate. Passion can make people lose themselves in relationships, prioritizing their partner's desires over their own needs. Discernment reminds us to maintain healthy boundaries, ensuring that the relationship is balanced and that both partners are valued. Passion may lead to impulsive reactions and disagreements, but discernment encourages emotional regulation. Take time to process emotions before responding. Listen actively and seek resolution rather than just reacting. If something feels off, don't ignore it just because the relationship is exciting. Discernment means trusting your intuition, recognizing patterns, and addressing concerns rather than hoping they will change on their own. Not every passionate relationship is meant to last. Some relationships teach us lessons, but are not meant for the long haul. Discernment gives us the strength to walk away from relationships that are not healthy or fulfilling, even if the passion is strong. Passion is essential in relationships. It creates excitement, deep emotional connection, and a sense of purpose and love. But passion without discernment is dangerous. It can lead to impulsive decisions, unhealthy attachments, and heartbreak. On the other hand, discernment without passion can result in relationships that are stable but lifeless, safe but uninspiring. The key to a strong, healthy relationship is balance. Embracing the fire of passion while allowing the wisdom of discernment to guide the way. When these two forces work together, love becomes something more than just a fleeting feeling. It becomes a foundation for a meaningful, lasting connection. Every day we are faced with choices that have the potential to change the course of our lives. Some opportunities appear in the form of career advancements, financial investments, or new business ventures. Others come in personal growth, relationships, or experiences that push us beyond our comfort zones. Caution is the voice of wisdom, reminding us to evaluate risks, Think critically and avoid reckless decisions. It is the inner guardrail that keeps us from making choices that could lead to regret, loss, or failure. Caution ensures that we do not rush into things blindly, that we consider consequences, and that we make informed decisions. Courage, on the other hand, is the force that propels us forward. It is the willingness to step into the unknown, to take risks, and to pursue something greater despite fear and uncertainty. Courage is what allows people to chase dreams, embrace new opportunities, and go after what they truly want in life. Both caution and courage are essential. Too much caution can lead to hesitation, missed opportunities, and a life dominated by fear. Too much courage without wisdom can lead to reckless decisions, unnecessary risks, and costly mistakes. The key to navigating opportunities effectively is finding the balance between caution and courage. Knowing when to pause and evaluate and when to move forward boldly is the difference between stagnation and success, between fear-based living and a life of purpose and fulfillment. Caution is often misunderstood. Some people associate it with fear or hesitation. But true caution is not about being afraid. It is about being wise. It is about taking the time to assess risks, gather information, and make thoughtful decisions. Caution is what prevents impulsivity and ensures that opportunities are pursued in a way that leads to long-term success rather than short-term excitement. One of the most common areas where caution is necessary is in financial decisions. People are often presented with investment opportunities, business ventures, or major purchases that seem promising. Without caution, someone might invest in a business without researching its viability, take on debt they cannot afford, or trust the wrong people with their money. Caution ensures that financial opportunities are analyzed, researched, and approached with a strategy. Another area where caution is crucial is in career decisions. Many people dream of quitting their jobs to pursue their passions, start a new business, or take on an exciting new role. While courage is necessary to make bold career moves, caution reminds us to consider practical factors. Do I have a financial safety net? Have I built the necessary skills? Have I thought through the consequences? Making a career move with wisdom allows people to take risks without jeopardizing their financial or personal stability. Caution is also important in relationships and partnerships. Whether it's a business partnership, a romantic relationship, or a new friendship, caution reminds us to observe character, integrity, and compatibility before making deep commitments. Jumping into partnerships without discernment can lead to toxic relationships, business failures, or broken trust. Beyond external decisions, caution also helps in self-discipline and personal growth. Sometimes people are tempted to take shortcuts in life, whether in health, success, or reputation. Caution warns against chasing quick fixes, reminding us that true success is built with patience, effort, and consistency. While caution is vital, it must be balanced. If caution takes complete control, it can lead to a life of hesitation, self-doubt, and missed opportunities. This is why courage is equally essential. Courage is the force that breaks through fear, uncertainty, and complacency. It is what allows people to step into opportunities that may feel intimidating, but have the potential to change their lives. Courage is what separates those who dream from those who act, those who wish from those who achieve. One of the most critical areas where courage is needed is in pursuing dreams and passions. Many people have ideas, talents, and aspirations that they keep buried because they are afraid to fail. Fear whispers, what if I'm not good enough? What if I fail? What if people judge me? But courage says, what if I succeed? What if this is the opportunity that changes everything? Taking a step toward one's dreams, whether starting a business, writing a book, or learning a new skill, requires the courage to believe in oneself. Courage is also necessary when facing the unknown. Many of life's greatest opportunities require stepping into situations where there are no guarantees. Moving to a new city, starting a new job, or entering a new relationship all come with uncertainty. Courage is the ability to embrace that uncertainty, trusting that even if the path is unclear, it is worth taking the step. Another area where courage is essential is in overcoming failure and setbacks. Many people let fear of failure stop them from taking risks. But every successful person has faced failures along the way. The difference is that they had the courage to get back up, learn from mistakes, and keep moving forward. Courage allows people to see failure not as the end, but as a stepping stone to growth and success. Courage is also what enables people to seize opportunities before they disappear. Some opportunities do not wait for us to be fully ready. They come in fleeting moments, and if we hesitate too long, they pass us by. The courage to say yes when the moment is right is what allows people to step into doors that lead to greater possibilities. But just like caution, courage must be balanced. Blind courage without wisdom can lead to reckless decisions, unnecessary risks, and preventable mistakes. This is why caution and courage must work together. Finding the right balance between caution and courage is not always easy, but it is essential for making wise and bold decisions. Here are some ways to cultivate this balance. Take time to evaluate risks, but do not get stuck in analysis paralysis. If an opportunity is promising but uncertain, calculate the risks, plan wisely, and then take action. Fear can sometimes protect us, and sometimes it holds us back. Learn to differentiate between fear that warns of real danger and fear that is simply resistance to stepping outside of comfort zones. Courage does not mean taking foolish risks. Find ways to minimize potential downsides while still moving forward. If you are starting a business, keep a financial backup. If you are changing careers, develop your skills beforehand. If you have spent too much time analyzing but have no real reason to hesitate, it may be time to take action. At some point, caution must step aside so courage can take over. Your instincts may lead you toward great opportunities, but back them up with careful thought and research. Trust your gut, but also ensure that the decision aligns with your goals. If you wait for the perfect conditions, you may never take action. Sometimes you must take a leap of faith, even if everything is not completely clear. Opportunities require both caution and courage. Caution ensures that decisions are made wisely, with thoughtfulness and strategy. Courage ensures that fear does not hold us back from stepping into new possibilities. The most successful, fulfilled people do not let caution make them hesitant, nor do they let courage make them reckless. They find the balance between wisdom and boldness, preparation and action, risk and reward. Life's greatest rewards often lie on the other side of fear, but to reach them, one must be willing to move forward, not blindly, but with wisdom, courage, and faith. Forgiveness is one of the most profound and challenging aspects of human relationships. It is a bridge between pain and healing, a decision that can either set us free or keep us bound in resentment. Yet the process of forgiveness is not as simple as merely saying, "I forgive you." It involves a delicate balance between logic and grace, between reason and compassion, between understanding the facts and extending mercy despite them. On one hand, logic tells us to be cautious. It reminds us of the offense, of the betrayal, of the wounds inflicted. Logic assesses the situation, considers the likelihood of repeated harm, and warns us to set boundaries. It ensures that we do not become naive, that we do not enable unhealthy behaviors, and that we protect ourselves from further damage. Logic demands accountability, justice, and fairness. It reminds us that trust, once broken, cannot be restored overnight. But on the other hand, grace calls us to release bitterness. It urges us to let go of resentment, to extend love even when it is undeserved. Grace reminds us that we too have made mistakes, that we too have needed forgiveness. It does not mean ignoring wrongdoing or pretending that the hurt never happened, but it does mean choosing mercy over vengeance, peace over perpetual anger. Grace softens the heart where logic alone would keep it hardened. To truly forgive, we must find the balance between these two forces. Too much logic without grace leads to cold, unforgiving hearts that never let go of past offenses. Too much grace without logic leads to enabling toxic behavior and placing ourselves in harm's way. Both must work together. Grace to heal, logic to protect. Forgiveness is often viewed as purely an emotional or spiritual act, but logic plays a critical role. Logic allows us to process what happened, to evaluate the situation objectively, and to make informed decisions about our relationships moving forward. It prevents us from making impulsive choices based solely on emotions. One of the first things logic does in forgiveness is help us define the offense. Before we can forgive, we must understand exactly what needs to be forgiven. What was done? Was it intentional or accidental? Was it a moment of weakness or a pattern of behavior? Logic breaks down the situation into facts, separating emotion from reality. Logic also assesses accountability. Not everyone who asks for forgiveness is truly repentant. Some people apologize only because they were caught or because they want to manipulate their way back into a relationship. Logic looks for genuine remorse, consistent change, and a willingness to make things right. It ensures that we are not being deceived by empty words or false promises. Another critical role of logic is setting boundaries. Forgiveness does not always mean reconciliation. Sometimes the wisest course of action is to forgive someone in our hearts while maintaining distance. Logic helps us determine whether a relationship is worth restoring or whether it is healthier to move on. It reminds us that forgiving someone does not mean giving them repeated access to our lives if they continue to harm us. For example, if someone repeatedly lies or betrays trust, logic says, I can release the anger in my heart, but I will not give them another opportunity to hurt me. If someone abuses or manipulates, logic says, I choose to forgive for my own peace, but I will not stay in a harmful situation. Logic protects us from being used, from repeating cycles of pain, and from believing that forgiveness requires us to ignore reality. However, logic alone is not enough. If all we do is analyze, evaluate, and set conditions, we risk becoming cold and unyielding. This is where grace steps in. Grace is what allows forgiveness to go beyond fairness and into love. It is what gives us the strength to let go of anger, even when the other person does not deserve it. Grace is not about ignoring pain or pretending that everything is okay. Instead, it is about choosing freedom over bitterness, peace over resentment. One of the most powerful aspects of grace is that it frees the forgiver. Holding on to anger and resentment does not hurt the offender as much as it hurts the one carrying it. Bitterness is a prison. It weighs down the heart, clouds judgment, and steals joy. Grace allows us to break free from that prison, to release the burden of holding on to pain. Grace also recognizes human imperfection. No one is perfect. We all make mistakes, hurt others, and need forgiveness at some point in our lives. When we choose to extend grace, we acknowledge that people are flawed and that mistakes do not define a person forever. Grace does not justify wrongdoing, but it does create space for redemption. And another vital role of grace is restoring relationships. While logic may say this person does not deserve another chance, grace says, let's leave room for healing and reconciliation. Many relationships, whether friendships, marriages, or family bonds, have been restored because someone chose to extend grace rather than holding on to past wrongs. However, grace must not come without wisdom. Extending grace does not mean allowing people to repeatedly harm us. It does not mean ignoring harmful behavior or tolerating disrespect. Grace must be balanced with logic so that forgiveness is an act of strength, not weakness. True forgiveness requires both logic and grace. It requires us to evaluate situations wisely while also keeping our hearts open to healing. Here are some ways to achieve that balance. Logic helps us understand the impact of the offense, but grace reminds us not to stay trapped in the pain. We can acknowledge what happened without letting it control our emotions forever. Grace allows us to let go of resentment, but logic ensures we remember the lessons learned. Forgiveness does not mean making the same mistakes or allowing the same harm to happen again. It is possible to forgive someone while keeping a healthy distance. Logic says, I need to protect myself, and grace says, I will not hold on to resentment. Logic observes whether a person is genuinely sorry, while grace remains open to giving them a chance to change. If someone repeatedly apologizes but does not change, logic may require us to move on, but grace allows us to release bitterness. Logic may say, they hurt me and they should pay for it. Grace says, I choose peace over carrying the weight of resentment. Forgiveness is not about excusing someone's actions. It is about freeing ourselves from the burden of anger. Grace allows us to forgive not just for the sake of the offender, but for our own emotional well-being. Logic ensures that we do not allow others to take advantage of our kindness. Forgiveness is not a simple decision. It is a process that requires both the wisdom of logic and the compassion of grace. Logic protects us, ensuring that we do not allow repeated harm, while grace frees us from the burden of bitterness and opens the door for healing. Too much logic without grace leads to a hardened heart that refuses to let go of pain. Too much grace without logic leads to naivety and self-inflicted suffering. The true power of forgiveness lies in balancing these two. Understanding when to protect ourselves and when to let go, when to set boundaries and when to open our hearts. At its core, forgiveness is not about whether the other person deserves it. It is about whether we choose to carry the weight of pain or step into the freedom that comes from releasing it.